Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Diamonds in the Rough podcast, episode 3. This is a very special episode today. We have our very first guest on the show, Jennifer Cobb. Jennifer is a former Los Angeles Rams cheerleader, and she is the founder of Team Gateway to a Cure, which is a foundation founded to help people deal with Parkinson's disease, that have Parkinson's disease. I have the website for teamgatewaytoacure.org. That's the website. I will go ahead and post that under the video. And Jennifer will, obviously tell you more about her foundation and career as a former Los Angeles Rams cheerleader. Jennifer, welcome to the show. How are you doing today? Happy New Year.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I'm here in Buffalo, New York. We're getting ready for a big football playoff game tomorrow. I'm not a Bills fan. I'm actually from Miami, so I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. We're getting ready for
Super Bowl. Super Bowl is Tampa.
Yeah, the Super Bowl this year is in Tampa. Yeah, but the Bills are playing, the Ravens tomorrow, and your team that you used to cheer for, the Rams, are playing the Green Bay Packers. So that should be a good game.
A little correction. I was a Rams, St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, I know that.
I was on the field when they were the greatest show on turf. Back in Kurt Warner, Dick Vermeil, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Marcia Falk, and Jennifer Cobb. Ho ho ho!
Yeah, I remember the Rams' greatest show on turf team. That was a great team. Went all the way to the Super Bowl, beat the Tennessee Titans, came down right to the end of the game. That was a great game. Yep.
It was, and I tell you, I know there's a lot of history with Kroenke taking the team away from St. Louis and bringing them to LA. But one thing I always remind people that ask me, are you angry? Are you frustrated, mad that the team is no longer in the city? And yes, it is frustrating. Yes, it's aggravating, but he will never be able to take the fact that we will always be forever a two-time championship city. And I have been graced with the opportunity to be a part of that team and to be on the field and to have some of the most amazing, incredible memories being a part of all of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'll go ahead and get into the questions, I wanted to ask you. First off, how long were you a Rams cheerleader for, and what made you want to become one?
I was on the team from inaugural season when Mrs. Frontieri brought him from LA to St. Louis all the way up to Super Bowl. So it was interesting because I was driving home from work one day and I actually heard on the radio that Mrs. Frontieri was hosting open auditions. And I was like, I think I might just give it a try and see if I, might make the squad. Maybe I won't, but at least I go in trying and having a good time, and maybe I'll come out making a friend or two. And it was a lot of fun. My background actually is gymnastics, and I cheered in high school and college all 4 years. And as you know, gymnastics and college cheerleading there's a lot of stunting, there's a lot of acrobatics, and with the professional cheerleading, it's a little bit different. We're performers. We're there to entertain the crowd. There's a lot of dancing. There's not any stunting or tumbling or anything like that. But the fascination with Mrs. Frontieri is many people don't know this, and you'll find out a little bit more about her life in her documentary movie that's in post-production. But she was a Vegas showgirl. She spent many years of her life dancing in Vegas. And so having that background with her, she was very particular about her girls, grooming them from head to toe, how they represented themselves, not only for them, but also for the brand with the NFL. And so there's a little more that goes into just pure dancing talent in the selection process with each cheerleader, just the same that goes into the selection process with the player. You can have, one of the fastest 40-yard dash, catch the most footballs, and catch all the most touchdowns on the team. But if you don't represent yourself, your character, your camaraderie with other players, if you're coachable, how you get along with the other teammates when you're exhausted and you're frustrated that things may not be going your way. They take a lot goes into the selection process for a player just as much as a cheerleader. And so it's it's taken very, very seriously. And I think they weed out the strong from the weak going into summer training and a lot of these auditions. I walked into a room full of beautiful, couple hundred beautiful women that just accomplished very well, talented dancers. And I am a girl from Chicago that didn't have much dancing experience growing up. But what I did have was I had a lot of tenacity. I had a lot of drive. If I didn't know something, I was going to learn it. And I always looked in the room and saw, who is the strongest dancer here? And I'm going to stand right next to her and follow everything she does. And I just work really, really hard. And so moving forward to the top 40, I was one of them. And it wasn't because I was the strongest dancer, but I was coachable. If I didn't know something, I'd figure out how to do it, how to make it better, how to polish myself. But also my personality, my drive to learn, to keep improving myself from emotionally and personal level to a talent level. And so those are one of the things as I step away from the field. And I have started my own foundation, a 501c3 Team Gateway to a Cure for Parkinson's awareness and research, and also for caregivers to support them in their efforts, caring for their loved ones that might be battling the disease. I always remember that walking away from all of that, we didn't get paid much, but there's more than the money that goes into what I feel is more important, and that's the network of a family, the network of family that the NFL has been nothing but supportive in my efforts to bring the foundation into who I am as an individual, where I am today.
I definitely agree with that. I did watch a show on PBS talking about the cheerleaders in the NFL and how they were treated as far as pay and everything like that. It was a pretty interesting show. I watched it, I think it was like a few years ago. But yeah, very interesting to see what goes on in the life of a cheerleader. All right, moving on to the next question. I want to ask you, do you still root for the Rams today since they moved back to LA? Why or why not?
Oh, goodness, that's a good question. I have always loved football. I'm just happy today that there's football on television. And it's just the sport. It's a great sport. You have sometimes you have an underdog on the field, and it's great to see them persevere and come out on top. But then you also have, just as I know from me, what went into getting these fellas on the field, and what went into prepare these young men to the talent and the caliber of talent to where they are today. I'm really in awe by it, because it's not about, you see them at their peak and how amazing they are as they perform these, they look like effortless movements on the field, but all of that time, dedication, and effort that went into when they started in the peewee level, when they were a 7-year-old little, young man to the age of where they're at. And the reason I say that is because many people don't know how much dedication and time commitment it takes behind the scenes for a player, but also for a cheerleader. And so we all have full-time jobs, or we are students that are going to school full-time. But there's a requirement that when you sign the contract, when you are selected as one of the cheerleaders or the players, you are committed to 30 to 40 hours of community service that you are committed to do each season. Then you also have to commit to summer training. You have about 20 hours a week in practice that you have to fulfill, Tuesday, Thursdays, and then Saturdays, the day before game day, for 4 to 5 hours at the stadium. And then on game day, your call time on the field is 7 a.m. Sorry, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. I just didn't hear you for a minute. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
You have,
Yeah.
we get on the field in the morning before the game at 7, and we practice 2.5 hours before the game to get spacing and go through all of our routines. And then we go back to our locker room for hair and makeup, and then on the field for the tunnel at 11:15, 11:30. And then you cheer for 4 hours. So it's a lot of time commitment, but there's a lot that goes into perfecting a toe touch and perfecting those routines and making sure that everybody's space perception, and just all the detail that goes into the performance that you see so effortlessly that we perform on the field. And the same goes for the players. I mean, some of the most amazing talented players that I know. I mean, I look at Isaac Bruce, all of those great catches, Marshall Faulk, the quickness and the agile movements of him on the field. I mean, they make it look so simple, but you got to remember how much training off of the field that went in, not just physical, but emotional and mental training. Because if you are, as I was one of them, on the field cheering for the worst team in the NFL, you can imagine how that messes with your psyche. You know, you're constantly beaten down by the fans, and the media makes comments, and they talk about it, and they write up, write-ups in the newspaper, and it messes with you. And so, how do you separate and filter the reality from the fake? And now a lot of people that are in the arena where technology and what the world is today, it's very instant gratifying. Everything is, instantly quick. I want it now. And you and I don't really have as much of an experience as the generation today. I mean, we live in an instant gratifying world. You got Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook, and everything is instant. And if it's not instantly gratifying to you, you feel like you've let yourself down, you've let your teammates down. And I think it's more of a marathon. That's how life, to me anyway, is more of a marathon, and just being patient and letting time just figure itself out, and do your homework, put the time in. Practice makes better, and that doesn't necessarily make perfection.
Definitely agree with that. I used to work security at the Hard Rock Stadium when I was down in Miami. So I worked security, for the Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes. And I used to see those guys warming up before the games, and it's pretty interesting to see how they go through their warm-ups. And, I would also be, near the cheerleaders and see them warming up. So you definitely see how they prepare for the game, when it's actually game day, going through all their warm-ups and stuff like that, catching the balls, the drills, like all that stuff. So I definitely understand, what it's like for them to being on the field, and just like seeing those guys up close and everything up close. Because like on TV, everybody looks so small, but when you see them like up close in person, you're like, damn, these guys are so big.
And there's more than just physical rituals that warm up. There's a lot of mental rituals. There's a lot of journal writing. There's a lot of self-help, self-improvement books. And then a lot of these players, as well as the cheerleaders, have personal one-on-one therapists, mental therapists. And they do a lot of visualization, which is really, really popular in the athletic arena, where they actually have time to meditate, slow themselves mentally down, and visualize the perfect catch, the perfect throw, the perfect game, the perfect routine. And that visualization, based on what research and data shows, it's really, really powerful into the trajectory of long-term of the outcome of what these athletes experience with their own careers as well as their personal lives.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So you're from Chicago. I wanted to ask you, are the Rams your favorite football team, or do you have a favorite football team other than the Rams? I know you're a cheerleader for the Rams, but are they your favorite team?
Yeah, I try to discourage myself from what's the favorite, because I have so many amazing friends, players, alumni players, cheerleaders from all over, different football teams. But again, going back to what I said earlier, I love the game of football. I love watching it. I love getting together with friends and just, having some, pizza and popcorn, lots of snacks, and just watching a good game of football and maybe even a bad game. At this point, all of us going through quarantine, I'm just happy the game's on television. But I do. I have a tendency to kind of migrate a little bit toward the Rams just because I know a lot of them personally, the coaches, the employees. I still today am very well connected with the cheerleaders. The NFL alumni cheerleaders is a brand now. As of 2 years ago, now we have our own hashtag, we have our own website, we have our own logo, and it's kind of a separate entity, but still connected to the NFL. So I'm really proud to be a part of that group of women that we have probably close to, a couple thousand girls from every single NFL team. And, a lot of people don't know this, that not every NFL team has cheerleaders. Like Green Bay doesn't. Chicago, they used to have the Honey Bears and they don't. So not every single NFL team has cheerleaders. But this is going back all the way to, even the 60s. Some of them are still really involved in the alumni group. And it's just really great, especially when we do get together pre-COVID. Every Sunday or every October month, we would get together one Sunday game a month during the month of breast cancer awareness month. We would get together and be invited to be on the field to perform with the current cheerleaders. And the reason for all of that, I don't know if you remember, a lot of the players wear their pink gloves or they wear pink socks and pink shoes, and pink is the breast cancer color. And that actually started throughout the whole NFL when Mrs. Frontiere died and passed away of breast cancer. And because of her passing of breast cancer, the NFL took that cause and made it completely across the board with all of the teams that October would be breast cancer. And that's brings into the Cheer for the Cure. And that's when we bring the junior cheerleaders, the girls from 13, 14 and younger, to come on the field with us, veterans, as well as the current cheerleaders, to be on the field to cheer for the cure. And we've raised, golly, a couple $1 million every year. So it's been, a joy to be a part of that. And of course, it's a great cause.
Definitely. I definitely agree. All right. I want to talk about your foundation now. I know the last year has been tough for everybody. Over the last year and starting this year, how has COVID-19 affected you personally and your foundation's plans moving forward? What things have you had to change within your foundation?
Yeah, so we have kind of have taken a little bit of a recovery time, and now the website's being redone, and we're getting ready to launch that live in a couple of weeks. But one of the things I just want to touch on, the foundation was started about 4 years ago. My father was actually diagnosed with Parkinson's in 1999, right around the time Michael J. Fox went public with his disease of Parkinson's. And as a daughter that loves her dad, I have watched the Parkinsons degenerate my father. And I still to this day look at him as if I'm, 16-year-old teenager that idolizes and looks up to my dad. He's my first hero in my life. And as Parkinson's took that away from my dad, it really just, it really broke my heart to see his physical degeneration as well as his emotional. And I knew that there had to be a way to bring more resources to others, millions of people worldwide that might be going through the same. And so I collaborated efforts with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And they actually gave me the name Team Gateway to a Cure. And so I designed a logo. I did collaborated with the people in the city of St. Louis to start my board of directors. And I launched, had an unveiling party launching the announcement of my board to the public. And it was 4 years ago that started. And Michael J. Fox every year honors me in New York City for my efforts at the VIP Awards. Raising money for research has been something that I've been very committed to over the years. But then during COVID, right before COVID hit, there was a little bit of me that really saw another side to Parkinson's, and that was the caregiver. And that's where Muhammad Ali's Parkinson Center came into play. Muhammad Ali's legacy was focused 100% on the caregiver. All of those that put in effort on a daily basis to give him care and comfort while he battled his disease. And his widow, Lonnie Ali, who I had the joy and honor to meet, explained in detail what Muhammad wanted to leave before he passed away, and how important the caregiver's role is in giving that person battling Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, MS, concussions, whatever brain disease they might be going through, how important that caregiver is to give them comfort and hope to another day of life. And because of Muhammad's doctor, his wife, his children, his friends, and how incredibly important it was for him, he wanted to pass that along. And that's when he started the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center out in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is attached to the Barrows Neurological Institute. And since COVID, I think you and I and millions of others all over have had a little taste during quarantine of the life of a caregiver. And their life is like that every single day. It's very silent. It's very quiet. People are not knocking on doors. They're not making phone calls to see how you're doing. They're not coming over and bringing food. It's deafening quiet, and it's very lonely and very depressing. And so now the insurance companies are recognizing the caregivers as the second patient. And so they're now instilling support groups at the hospitals. The Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center focuses on how to give back to the caregivers at home. Many caregivers don't want to leave their home. They don't want to put their loved one in a nursing home. They want to care for them in their own home, behind the four walls of their comfort zone. They can see their loved ones. They can smell the smells of the food that they cook on a daily basis. They can hear the sounds of the giggles and the laughter of their loved ones in the home. And so they feel that comfort when they see the pictures on the wall instead of a place they just don't feel comfortable, or they don't have any history in a place that's not comforting for them. And so what does that mean for the caregiver if they're taking a lot of that burden and keeping their loved one at home? Where do they go for their support when they hit a wall, when they're exhausted, and they get up every day and do the exact same thing? Make sure they take their medicine, take them to and from their doctor appointments, making sure their bellies are full of food, tuck them into bed, and make sure they do it the same thing every single day. And it's a moment, an experience that I think, going back to quarantine, that kind of is their life. And especially when you're a low-income senior and you don't have a life outside of the home, where you're not working and you are at home, you do go a little crazy emotionally. Where do you have your outlets? Where do you have your respite time? And so I think it's really, really important. You can go on to the website, www.teamgatewaytoacure.org, and you can learn about how you can become a better caregiver and some of the things that you can do to be more involved as a caregiver and what that support looks like. You know, I get asked some of these caregiver conferences that I speak at, and it's, you know, Jen, how can I get over some of the emotional history. You know, my dad was never there for me growing up, and now he wants me to stop my life. I'm trying to build a business, a company, raise kids. I just got married, and now he wants me to stop my life and take care of him. Well, where was he when I was going through Pee Wee football? He never showed up to any of my practices or showed up to any of my games. And so, how do you meet the person where they're at when they're going through a disease like Parkinson's or MS or Alzheimer's, and let go of that past in your history and meet that person where they're at? Because that person, that dad that's going through Parkinson's, is not the same person he was 20, 30 years ago. He's evolved, he's grown, he's different. He's also battling a health disease that's going to take him faster than he's wanted to. And so oftentimes what I do is I try to encourage that person to let go of the emotional past and to maybe journal about what you personally are grateful for. And thank goodness you're not in the same boat, because you don't have to be like your dad was. You can be a better man because of that.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Me personally, I don't know anybody that's had to deal with Parkinson's disease, but I can only imagine how debilitating the disease must be. And you having your father, have suffering from that. I can only imagine how bad it is. Like so many other diseases out there that we don't have a cure for, that aren't treatable. Moving on, I wanted to ask you currently, what types of treatments are being used by those who suffer from Parkinson's disease, and do you think these are helping them cope better or worse in their everyday lives?
Great question. I have been involved with a movie, A Race for Another Day. I'm actually producing it. It's in post-production. We now have our trailer is out. You can look at it on the website, as well as our movie poster. And a cool thing about the movie poster most people don't know is movie poster to a movie is like a logo to a company. So once you get that logo, it's like, oh, we're really live, like this is real. And so we're really excited about that. But the Race for Another Day is a movie about the day in life of Dr. Jerry Medoff. And Dr. Jerry Medoff was a neurologist, a neurospecialist, scientist that was out in St. Louis, Missouri at Washington University Hospital. And he became world famous when he invented the 21 pill cocktail for HIV, the virus for AIDS, 20 years ago. And that was the epidemic back then. Now for us, it's COVID and Parkinson's. And so now, if you have the disease, if you can contract the HIV virus, you now take one pill and live a normal life. Back then, it was 21 pills. You didn't know if you were going to live. And so, unfortunately, Dr. Jerry Medoff is taking 21 pills today for Parkinson's. And so, when you look at the trajectory of HIV, the virus, over 20 years and what the medical breakthrough is for that, where will Parkinson's be when patients today are taking 21 pills for Parkinson's? Where will that Parkinson's be 20 years from now as that medical breakthrough is uncovered? And so what the movie uncovers is the life and the day of another day for somebody who's battling Parkinson's. So A Race for Another Day not only uncovers this medical breakthrough that you and I are going through, the unraveling of, but also how important another day of life for someone going through Parkinson's, how important a caregiver's role is in giving them another day. So A Race for Another Day, how important a caregiver, as well as the medication, plays into the hope and comfort of them going through that illness. Unfortunately, Dr. Jerry Medoff lost his life back in January of last year to Parkinson's. And so now I'm so happy to announce, and I can publicly say this, that now, because of such amazing research and medical breakthrough, there is now a pill that actually reverses the damage that Parkinson's has done to the brain. And so we are so thrilled with that aspect. But the other side is now that the medical research community is now crossing over. So what medication might work for Alzheimer's that has already had millions and billions of dollars in research money associated with that science. They're now crossing that over and using the same medication to treat Parkinson's. And the same with Lewy bodies, ALS, and MS. So that is also in trial. There's a number of trials that they're working on with those type of drugs. There's also a slow release medication that is being used right now, which actually my dad is on, where before the medication had to be timed with proteins in the diet. So you had to take your medication, 30 minutes later, you had to have a protein, which would be a chicken, a fish, or a meat, or vegan beans and rice, and you had to time it. We no longer have to do that. So it's a slow release medication, which is really positive. And then there's also a lot of physical therapy that's being done out at the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center. They're actually, the laboratory at that center is actually the indoor, looks like an indoor bedroom, a kitchen, a family room, because most falls and most things happen in the home. And so what they do is they treat through physical treatment, not only the patient, but also the caregiver, on how to navigate through their daily life path, because that's where they're living. They're living in their kitchen, their bathrooms, how to get in and out of a bed, how to get up and down from the toilet, how to help them feed themselves because they're dyskinesia or they're tremoring. They can't hold the spoons and the forks and feed themselves. So what sort of therapy training that can the caregiver do to help ensure that not only their nutrition is up to speed, but also that they're meeting the needs of the patient to that extent.
That's definitely good to hear that they're progressing with finding ways to help patients with Parkinson's disease, making their lives better. I wanted to ask you, this will be the last question I ask you regarding your foundation and Parkinson's disease. And I know this is a tough question to answer because we don't really know the answer to this, but when do you personally think that the world can expect a cure for Parkinson's disease, and how soon do you think that might be?
I personally think that there will be a cure within my dad's lifetime. My dad is in his 70s, and I believe with my whole heart that there will be a cure. We are so close to it. And as long as I can love my dad the way I see the love that I have for my dad gives him such hope that if I can continue doing my work and what my calling is, and that is to get others to help in the efforts that I'm moving toward, then I know 100% that there will be. We are so incredibly close to a cure for Parkinson's. But more importantly, it's really, really important for the caregivers at home to give comfort and hope to the person going through the disease. And what I mean by that is when you are around them, whether it's a family member, a friend, or a loved one, remember that my dad, Ty Cobb, is not Parkinson's. My dad, Ty Cobb, is a tenacious, loving, caring, amazing man that has great stories to share. And those are the things that you need to talk about. Don't talk about the medication, the therapy. Sit down and have a great conversation about things you did when you were younger. Remember when you used to do this when you were fishing and camping? That's what I did when I was younger. And play board games, watch movies, maybe cook a meal together, and do those sort of things. And that right there eases all the stress of the disease. And that brings joy to his spirit, and it brings joy to his heart. And that right there is a cure for me. And that's a cure for my dad. And that's all I have right now. until there is a cure for Parkinson's and many, many other diseases out there, this is what my cure for my dad is when Jennifer is there with my dad and we're together in the same room. I never once bring up Parkinson's. I make him laugh. I spend time with him, and I really, really enjoy the time that I have when we're together.
That's very good. That's very good to hear. And I hope there's other people out there, if their parents are suffering from Parkinson's disease, that they're very supportive of their parents and help them out and, make them feel good, just like you do with your father. That's a very good story to hear. I wanted to ask you one final question, but before I ask you this final question, I just wanted you to. Is there anything else you'd like to say regarding your foundation, a gateway to a cure? Before I just ask you this last question, do you guys have like any events coming up? If you want to give any viewers social media info where they can find you, any events you have coming up this year? I know we're still dealing with the pandemic, but any virtual events, anything coming up, anything new with the foundation that's coming up?
Yep. So you can go to our website. It's going to be we're launching a new website in the next couple of weeks, www.teamgatewaytoacure.org. And we're going to have some really, really fun stuff coming up. I'm going to be doing monthly podcast live. Where's Jen? I'm going to go into different homes of caregivers and share their stories of how they deal with the day in the life of someone they're loving and caring for. The other thing is I'm collaborating efforts with other charitable causes. I'm very cause-oriented myself, and getting involved with other philanthropies has always been a very strong passion of mine. In terms of fundraising, that sort of thing, we're not necessarily raising and having events to that extent. What we are trying to do is become more of an educational platform and helping caregivers and where they can go to get support. Of course, if there's a donation in memory of or for a loved one in terms of what their names are, you're welcome to make a donation on the website. And there's a donation tab, and we would love to have their name as a credits roll at the end of the movie in honor or in memory of, and that would be a nice tribute to a family member or a loved one. And in terms of volunteering, we're always looking for volunteers to help spread the message. Again, you can go to the website, www.teamgatewaytoacure.org, and you can leave and fill out the volunteer form. I answer every single one of my emails. I get back to all of the people that connect with me on the website. And if there's ever a question or you want to have me back on the show and there's questions, Q&A, I'm always about. So leave a question and I'd love to answer it. I'm always here to help. If I can reach one person through this platform, and thank you so very much for having me on, I know that I have touched somebody to help, then I've done my part. I've done my mission. Yep.
That's great. All right. So I wanted to end on a more positive note, or I wanted to end with football pretty much because, you are a former cheerleader. There's a big playoff game tomorrow. We got a big divisional round playoff game in the afternoon, about 4:30, 4:45. Yeah, 4:35. We had your Rams taking on the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay, Lambeau Field, frozen tundra, big game. Aaron Rodgers versus Aaron Donald versus Jalen Ramsey.
I know.
Big game.
We've been LA, the Rams are spoiled with the heat, and then you got Green Bay that's like, oh, we can handle the cold. You guys can't.
Yeah, finally, I want to get your thoughts and predictions for the Rams versus Packers playoff game tomorrow afternoon. And just give me your thoughts and predictions on the game, who wins and why. And also, if the Rams win, also real quick, if the Rams win, I want to know how far do you think they will go if they're able to win tomorrow against the Packers? How far do you think they'll go the rest of the way? But just go ahead and give me your thoughts and predictions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think my prediction is I think the Packers are going to take it. I think they have a little bit stronger offense. In terms of what the score might be, I think it might be pretty close, but I think toward the third quarter, I think Green Bay is going to take it.
I definitely agree with you there. If you want to stick around, I think it's going to be a good game, though. It's going to be a very good game. The Rams defense is very good.
You know what? You got whatever side you're on. Football is football. A good football game is great to watch. Any way you look at it, I think you and I and millions of everyone else out there is just so happy football's on. Football's on TV. We get to watch it and have a great time doing it. So a wonderful way to get people together, whether it's either, Zoom, everybody's watching it together, or whether you're able to watch it at home with family and friends. But I do want to say, as we end this session, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to be a first guest on your show, and allowing me to use your platform to help others, to give them hope and comfort. And again, if you ever want to have me back on, I'd love to do a Q&A, and we could talk cheerleading. We can talk, football. We could talk predictions for the draft. We can talk about Super Bowl 2021 or 2022 in LA. Lots of things that we can talk about. So I'd love to come back on anytime.
Definitely. And I'll definitely love to come on your podcast or anything you have going on as far as volunteering. When I was in Miami, I did volunteer for like a breast cancer event with the Miami Dolphins. They had some kind of like a biking challenge where I volunteered for a breast cancer event down in Miami in Hard Rock Stadium. So that was pretty cool. But Jennifer Cobb, everybody, former Los Angeles Rams cheerleader and the founder of Team Gateway to a Cure. Make sure you go and check out her website. Jennifer, I don't know if you want to stay on with me, but I'm going to go ahead and preview the NFL Divisional Round preview. Talk about the games coming up. Also go over the review of the College Football National Championship game between Alabama and Ohio State. Also give my thoughts on James. Also give my thoughts on James Harden getting traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and also talking about we had a couple new coaching hires today in the NFL. The Jaguars hired Urban Meyer as the new head coach, and the New York Jets hired Robert. They hired Robert. They hired Robert Saleh, the 49ers defensive coordinator, as their new head coach. So I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on that. It's up to you if you want to stick around the rest of the show and talk a little NFL, preview the games. Your Rams are obviously playing tomorrow, so I know you're excited about that. I give them a shot in Green Bay. I'm just disappointed that there's going to be no fans at that game in Lambeau Field. Green Bay is a great stadium. I've never been there, but I know they love their Packers to death here. I'm in Buffalo, and Bills Mafia, Buffalo being the only real professional sports team here other than the Sabres. They're diehard fans here in Buffalo. So, but it's been a pleasure, having you on the show today. I look forward to definitely speaking to you again and keeping in touch. And I wish you all the best, all your future endeavors with your foundation. Anything else that you're doing, it's great that you're able to use your platform, being a former Rams cheerleader, to be able to start a foundation like this and help people with Parkinson's disease. And I also wish your dad the best of luck in his recovery, and everybody else out there that's suffering from this debilitating disease. I hope eventually there is a cure for it, and it helps the rest of the world.
Thank you so much, Robert. What a joy, and I can't thank you enough. God bless you and your family and all your listeners. Thanks
all right,
again.
thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jennifer Cobb, former Los Angeles Rams cheerleader and founder of a Team Gateway to a Cure.org. Founder to a Team Gateway to a Cure. Make sure you check out our website, www.ateamgatewaytoacure.org. I want to thank Jennifer so much for coming on the show today and being our first guest. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into the preview of the NFL Divisional Round. We have games coming up tomorrow, Saturday. The first game of the day, we have Jennifer's Rams taking on the Green Bay Packers. That game is tomorrow afternoon at 4:35 at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. And the Packers are favored by 6.5 points. There will be no fans at this game tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and give you my pick for this game. I'm going to go ahead and take the Green Bay Packers to win a close game at home. The Packers last year made it to the NFC Championship game. They got blown out by the San Francisco 49ers on the road. They were playing in San Francisco. And now they're playing another NFC West Division team, similar to kind of like the 49ers. The Rams have a very good defense. I have a lot of respect for Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. But I just think for the Green Bay Packers playing at home this time around, I think it's going to be just too much for the I just don't think the Rams have enough offense to be able to keep up with the Packers defense. And then to stop Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field in Green Bay is very difficult. I think if this game were in Los Angeles, I would give the Rams more of a shot to win this game. I'm not saying they can't keep it close and make it a game, because I do think it's going to be a close game, but I just think the Packers offense, they're just going to have too much firepower, with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and all the receivers they have, and the tight end, Robert Tonyan. I just think the Packers just have too much firepower on offense. For the Rams, it's going to be hard for the Rams to keep up with them. I do think the Rams have a chance, if their defense can play well and they get enough play from Jared Goff and the wide receivers, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and all with Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown. I think that's going to be the key for the Rams. Is they're going to have to be able to run the ball and play good defense and keep that Packers offense off the field. It's going to be tough. I don't know what the weather conditions are going to be like tomorrow playing in Green Bay, but the weather is always a factor this time of the year playing there. I don't know if it's going to snow or not, but definitely weather will be a factor in that game probably. The Rams are playing a warm climate. They're a warm weather team from LA going to Green Bay. It's going to be tough. I do expect a close game. Like I said, the Packers are favored by 6.5. I think probably that's what they'll win by, probably 6.5. I think I picked them by 1 or 2 points. It could be a closer game, but yeah, I'll go ahead and take the Packers in that game over the Rams. I do think it's going to be a close game, because I think that Rams defense will keep it close and make it tough on Aaron Rodgers if they're able to get pressure on him with Aaron Donald, and if Jalen Ramsey is able to do a good job covering Devontae Adams. The thing with Devontae Adams is the Packers, they like to move him around a lot in the slot. They'll probably try to put him in the slot more. So, he doesn't have to face Jalen Ramsey outside. But, we'll see. It should be a great game, but I'll go with the Packers to win a close one. All right. Moving on to the second game tomorrow night in prime time, Saturday night prime time game, 8:15. We have the Baltimore Ravens going to Buffalo to take on the Bills. In this game, the Bills are favored by 2.5 points. I tell you, with this game right here, I really just think it's a toss-up. The Bills will have fans tomorrow night in attendance, like they did last week against the Colts. I think the Bills coming into this game will be more relaxed than they were last week, because they finally got that playoff monkey off their back by finally being able to win a playoff game, their first playoff win in like 25 years, by beating the Indianapolis Colts last week. They beat the Colts by 3. It was 27-24. So I think that win really got the monkey off their back. Now they're playing obviously a primetime game against another tough opponent in the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going up against Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown. As you know, myself, I'm a Florida boy. Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown are from Broward County, where I'm from. Lamar is from Pompano, and Marquise Brown is from Hollywood, Florida, where I was born and from. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills in this one. It's hard not to like the Bills. I think they've had a great season with Josh Allen. Josh Allen has really saved that team this year. He's been on fire of late. The whole year he's been on fire. Definitely an MVP candidate. The Bills in the offseason, getting Stephon Diggs was huge for them. Trading for him, he's been huge for Josh Allen. Josh Allen's been throwing in the ball all year, making big plays. I do live in Buffalo now, so I am rooting for the Bills, even though I'm a Dolphins fan and they are in my team's division. I'm going to go ahead and support the Buffalo Bills here, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Ravens go into Buffalo tomorrow night and win this game. It's really a toss-up. The Bills are favored by 2.5 points, a very close margin. So it should be a very interesting game. I think it could go either way. This might be the game of the weekend. I think Vegas put a lot of money on this game, thinking the Ravens definitely have a chance to win this game. This game right here could be the game of the weekend between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. They did play last year in the regular season. The Ravens beat them 24-17, but this time around the stakes are definitely higher. This is a playoff game. This is the divisional round. It's going to be an interesting game. The Bills' confidence has to be high, getting that first playoff win off their back, and then Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves too. Lamar finally got his first playoff win after 3 seasons, and they knocked out the Tennessee Titans last week, 20-13. After the Titans beat them the last 2 times and knocked them out in the playoffs last year at home in the divisional round. So this game right here is really a toss-up. It go either way. I'll go ahead and take the Bills close, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Ravens win this game tomorrow night up here in Buffalo. All right, moving on to Sunday afternoon at 3:05 p.m. We have the Cleveland Browns going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. In this game right here, the Chiefs are favored by 10 points. I think that's the biggest spread of the weekend right here. They are going to have some fans in attendance at Arrowhead Stadium. The Browns, they're another team that got the monkey off their back. They won their first playoff game pretty handily, going to Pittsburgh last week and knocking off the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was 48-34 was the final score of that game. The Browns made the playoffs for the first time since 1999, and last week against the Steelers was their first playoff win since 1994 when Bill Belichick was the head coach, and they beat the Patriots. So congratulations to the Cleveland Browns on winning last week against the Steelers. I tell you one thing, I think the Browns are getting a little bit disrespected in this game, being a 10-point dog. The Browns, I think, have a lot to prove. I think they have the formula to beat the Chiefs. They can run the ball with their 2 great running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's going to be extra motivated in this game going up against his former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, who cut him, going back to that domestic violence issue a few years back. They cut him, and then the Cleveland Browns were able to pick him up. So Kareem Hunt going back to Arrowhead to play against his former team, he's definitely going to be motivated. I would expect Kareem Hunt to have a big game tomorrow Sunday against his former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I would also expect Nick Chubb to have a big game as well. I think the formula for the Browns to have a chance to win this game is going to be they're going to have to be able to run the ball and keep Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense off the field, and that Browns defense is definitely going to have to show up with Myles Garrett and put some pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Now, mind you, the Chiefs they haven't really played a meaningful game in like 3 weeks. Mahomes has been off for 3 weeks, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if they start that game out a little bit rusty. And if the Browns come out hot, because the Chiefs really haven't had a meaningful game in 3 weeks, they've been off. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they come out rusty and it takes them a little time to get back in their groove. But I do think once they get back in their groove, the Kansas City Chiefs will prevail in this game and win this game. I just think they just have too much offense for the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns just won't have enough to be able to keep up them and stop them. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to cover by 10, though. I would kind of be surprised if they did. I think the game's going to be a lot closer than people think, but I'll go ahead and take the Chiefs at home in this one in a close game. Like I said before, I think the Browns are getting a little bit disrespected in this game, and I think that's going to motivate them to come out more and play well. And Baker Mayfield definitely has a lot to prove too. He's made the playoffs for the first time in his career. He finally got the Browns a playoff win. He's a former Heisman Trophy winner. He's going up against Patrick Mahomes, who's arguably considered the best quarterback in the NFL. So I expect Baker and the Browns to come out and play a good game. But I do think the Chiefs just have a little bit too much for them on offense, and the Chiefs will get in their groove eventually in that game and find a way to prevail in a close game. But I think the Browns keep it close. It could be a low-scoring game. The only way the Browns really have a chance is if they keep it a low-scoring game and play good defense, and they're able to run the ball with their running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But I just think too much Chiefs in this one. So I'll go ahead and take the Chiefs to prevail in Arrowhead Stadium and move on to the AFC Championship. Okay, moving on to the final game of the NFL Divisional Round weekend. We have the classic matchup of the two old men. We have Brady versus Breeze, the matchup that everybody's been talking about for a while. They met twice in the regular season already because they're in the same division. So now we have round 3, Bucs versus Saints in New Orleans. Both quarterbacks are healthy. All the stars are back for this game. And I will give you my prediction in this game. The Saints are favored by 3 points. There's no crowd in attendance for this game in the Superdome in New Orleans. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this one. They lost twice in the regular season to the New Orleans Saints. The first in Week 1 when they played in New Orleans. That was Brady's first game as a Buck, and they were getting used to everybody on the team. They lost in Week 1, and then they played again later. I believe it was on Sunday Night Football in Tampa. And man, did New Orleans beat the crap out of Tampa Bay in that week. It was 38-0 in that game. The Saints really gave it to the Buccaneers in that game. They embarrassed them, and I think the Bucs are going to come out in this game very angry, very motivated. They lost to the Saints twice this year. For a team to beat a team, for one team to beat another team 3 times in a year is very hard, being that they're playing in the same division. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game to go into the Superdome with no fans and beat the Saints. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but it should be a great game. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Bucs to win this one. They lost twice to the Saints in the regular season. The last time they played them in Tampa, they got spanked. It was 38-0. I think Tampa Bay remembers that. They're going to make the necessary corrections going into this game, and they're going to give a much better performance going into New Orleans this time around against the Saints than they did the last time they played them in Tampa, and then obviously when they played them in Week 1. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week go into New Orleans, beat the Saints. The Buccaneers advance to the NFC Championship game. So I'll go ahead and give you my picks again for the NFL Divisional Round. Rams versus Packers. I like the Packers over the Rams. I like the Bills over the Ravens. I like the Chiefs over the Browns. And then I like the Bucs over the Saints. So if all my picks are right this week, for the NFC Championship game next week, we'll have Rodgers versus Brady in Lambeau Field, Bucs versus Packers. And if my picks are correct in the AFC, we will have Bills versus Chiefs, Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. If that were to happen, both of these games would be rematches since these teams did play each other in the regular season. But we'll see what happens this weekend in the divisional round. I do expect there to be at least 1 or 2 upsets because there always are. That's just how it is with football, you never know. It's anybody's game. It's any given Sunday. So I do expect there'll be at least 1 or 2 upsets this weekend. We'll just see what happens. It'll definitely be interesting to see. Okay, moving on. We had a college football playoff national championship game early this week on Monday. We had the Alabama Crimson Tide taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the national championship game. Number 1 Alabama versus number 3 Ohio State. The Crimson Tide really took it to Ohio State in this game down in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, winning the national championship game pretty handily, 52-24. Not surprised at all. I was kind of surprised by how bad Alabama beat Ohio State. I thought it would be a lot closer game than this. It just shows you how good Alabama is with Nick Saban. In this game, star wide receiver and Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith had 12 catches for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns, so he really shined in this game before getting hurt in the second half with a hand injury. Alabama really took it to Ohio State pretty good in this one. It wasn't really much of a game. I was hoping for a closer game. I was kind of rooting for Ohio State to win just because I'm sick of Alabama winning every year. But, hats off to Alabama. They've been the most dominant program in college football over the last 10 years. Nick Saban wins his 7th national championship with Alabama. So, I mean, it just goes to show you how good Alabama is. Moving forward, I hope college football is a little bit more interesting moving forward with this playoff, and they're able to add teams and make it more interesting playoff where you don't have the same teams in the playoff every year. I think people are kind of getting tired of seeing Alabama in it every year, and Clemson and Ohio State and even Notre Dame. I'm waiting for college football to kind of get some of the powers that we had back in the day good again, like Miami and Michigan and Florida State and USC and Washington. Some of these teams that were good in the 90s and back in the day. We want to see some of the teams competing for national championships and being good year in and year out. But like I said again, hats off to Alabama. They had a great season with everything going on with COVID. 13-0 regular season. Ohio State, they also had a great year too, despite playing only despite playing only 8 games and having some of their games canceled due to a COVID restriction. So it was kind of a weird year in college football because it was all conference games and you didn't really have any teams playing each other out of conference. Hopefully this year going into college football, we'll have more. It'll be a better season moving forward next year for 2021 in college football. Okay, moving on. We had a big trade in the NBA this week. As many of you already heard, James Harden, Rockets shooting guard and star, James Harden, was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Again, James traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Now he'll be teaming up again with his old teammate from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Kevin Durant, and also playing alongside Kyrie Irving, forming what is considered, I guess, if you can consider it, a big 3 super team. So you'll have Harden, Durant, and Irving all on the same team now. Let me just go over the details of this trade because it was a 4-team trade between the Nets, the Rockets, the Pacers, and the Cavs. So in this trade, the Nets got James Harden. The Rockets got Victor Oladipo, Rodions Kurucs, Dante Exum, 4 unprotected first-round picks. The Nets the Nets pick in 2022, the Nets pick in 2024, and the Nets pick in 2026, as well as the Bucks pick in 2022. They also got 4 unprotected first-round pick swaps, 1 in 2021, 1 in 2023, 1 in 2025, and 1 in 2027. So the Rockets got Victor Oladipo and Rodions Kurucs in this trade, as well as Dante Exum, and all the draft picks. The Pacers, they got Karis LeVert, who has been doing great for the Brooklyn Nets this year. So Karis LeVert got traded to the Indiana Pacers. So the Pacers got Karis LeVert along with a 2023 second-round pick from the Rockets. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cavs, got Jared Allen along with Taurean Prince from the Brooklyn Nets. So, again, just going over this trade again, the Nets get James Harden from the Rockets. The Rockets get Victor Oladipo from the Indiana Pacers and Rodions Kurucs from the Brooklyn Nets, along with Dante Exum, as well as all the picks. And the Indiana Pacers get Karis LeVert from the Brooklyn Nets, as well as a 2023 second-round pick from the Rockets. And the Cleveland Cavaliers get Jared Allen and Taurean Prince from the Brooklyn Nets. So pretty interesting trade, 14 trade. I'll just go ahead and give you my thoughts on this trade. I'm definitely interested to see how Brooklyn is going to be able to work, having, all these guys that are very ball dominant, James Harden and Kyrie Irving, as well as Kevin Durant, how they're going to make this work, with you have Harden and Durant who played together a long time ago in Oklahoma City. James Harden back then when he was with the Thunder was a 6th man coming off the bench. So he wasn't a star yet until he got to Houston, until he went to the Rockets and was traded to the Rockets. He wasn't a star yet. Kevin Durant was still the star of that team with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So was Russell Westbrook. So yeah, you have Kevin Durant and James Harden reunited together in Brooklyn, along with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are good friends. They're best friends. So, James Harden got his wish. He wanted out of Houston. He didn't think it was working out there. He wasn't happy to be there. He got his wish. He got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. That was one of his preferred destinations. So I'm interested to see how they make this work. They gave up some good players to get James Harden. Karis LeVert was playing well for them. They gave up Jared Allen, one of their big men. So now they're just left with DeAndre Jordan as their center. I believe the backup center is going to be Jeff Green. So I think the Nets are definitely going to need to go get another big man, probably in some type of a buyout to deepen their bench, and they're going to need more depth. But I'm definitely interested to see how the Nets make this work with these three guys, and which guy is gonna give up some of the scoring and sacrifice some of his stats for them to win. Because James Harden, he was the man in Houston. He pretty much did his thing, scoring, doing everything. I think Kevin Durant, for this to work in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant needs to be the leader of this team and needs to do most of the scoring and lead the way. And James Harden could be the 2, while Kyrie Irving is the 3. But right now we don't know where Kyrie Irving's head is at. He said before Harden was traded earlier in the year that he didn't want James Harden on the Nets. Now he gets James Harden on the Nets. So hopefully these guys can find a way to make it work. They're going to be a pretty interesting team. They're going to be able to score a lot of points. But what's going to happen on nights when they're not scoring 135 points or whatever it is a game, and when they're not shooting well, they're going to have to play some defense and find other ways to win. So it's going to be definitely interesting to watch. The Brooklyn Nets, they obviously, I think, did this move thinking about what LeBron and the Lakers did last year, getting Anthony Davis and winning a championship. I think they did this move to try to put them over the top, thinking that, if they get to the NBA Finals and they play the Lakers, they'll have an edge. But it'll be definitely interesting. The East is very competitive. You have some very good teams out there. The Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the defending Eastern Conference champion. My Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero. You have Philly with Ben Simmons you have Philly with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. You still have Boston with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and when they get Kemba Walker back. So the East is definitely going to be more interested now. And it seems like all these guys are going east. LeBron went west, and now LeBron's in the Western Conference, and it seems like everybody's going east. Durant went to Brooklyn, now Harden's in Brooklyn. What other superstars are still out west? We still got Kawhi Leonard out there. We have Damian Lillard in Portland. I thought the Western Conference was such a tough conference, and it seems like everybody now is going east with LeBron being in the West. So it'll definitely be an interesting regular season moving forward, and definitely interested to see how the Brooklyn Nets look now when James Harden gets acclimated to his new teammates and playing with Kevin Durant again, as well as Kyrie Irving. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close the show out today, talking about some new coaching hires in the NFL today. We had 2 new coaching hires. The Jacksonville Jaguars hired Urban Meyer, former Ohio State coach, as their new head coach today. So congratulations to Urban Meyer on getting a new head coaching job. As you know, Urban Meyer previously coached at Ohio State. He was also a head coach at the University of Florida and also Utah and Bowling Green as well. So Urban Meyer gets the head coaching job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. As you know, the Jaguars, they have the first pick in the NFL draft, the 2021 NFL draft this year. They're likely to go ahead and draft Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what kind of coaching staff Urban Meyer puts together there in Jacksonville. It'll be his first time as an NFL head coach. I believe he does have a home in Gainesville, so he'll be close to his old stomping grounds, University of Florida. But I'm definitely interested and excited to see how Urban Meyer does in Jacksonville with the Jaguars. I've been wanting Urban Meyer to get an NFL head coaching job for a long time. And now he finally got one, so let's see how he does. Hopefully he can do better in the NFL than Nick Saban did when Nick Saban was with the Dolphins. So again, congratulations to Urban Meyer. I wish him all the best with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're likely to draft Trevor Lawrence #1, and we'll see what they do with their coaching staff and the rest of their picks coming up this year. The other coaching hire today was the New York Jets hired 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. So Robert Saleh will be the next head coach of the New York Jets. The Jets have the #2 pick in the 2021 NFL draft. They're likely to draft Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields, unless the Jaguars draft him first, because Urban Meyer was the former head coach of Ohio State, so maybe he might want to draft Justin Fields with the #1 pick, but I highly doubt it, but we'll see. I think Trevor Lawrence is way too good a prospect to pass up, so it's likely that the Jaguars will take Trevor Lawrence 1, and the Jets will likely draft Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields 2, or who knows? Maybe the Jets will trade down in the draft and try to get somebody else. Maybe they'll try to get to keep Sam Darnold. They'll just try to get Sam Darnold weapons, or maybe they'll move off Sam Darnold and maybe get another quarterback. Matt Ryan might be available out there, or Matt Stafford. Those are proven quarterbacks. Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Stafford of the Detroit Lions are proven quarterbacks. So, I mean, who knows? It's definitely going to be an interesting NFL draft. We'll see what these two teams do moving forward. But congratulations to both men on getting these head coaching jobs, and we'll see what the Jaguars and Jets do respectively with the #1 and #2 pick coming up in the 2021 NFL draft. But I think that's all the time I have for you guys today. It was a pretty long show, an hour show. Again, I'd like to thank Jennifer Cobb for coming on and doing the interview. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties early in the show, but I'm glad we were able to get her on and interview her. She was a great guest, being my first guest on the Diamonds in the Rough podcast. This is episode 3. So thanks again to Jennifer for coming on the show. I look forward to definitely keeping in touch with her and maybe coming on her podcast sometime, as well as getting some other guests moving forward. Make sure you guys stay tuned and look out for my next video where I'll be recapping week 9 and week 10 of the Creating Young Minds Undiscovered League. I believe they have some games coming up this Sunday at 12 o'clock. They'll be playing. So be on the lookout for my next video, and make sure you support the channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Definitely show your support. That's all the time I have for you guys. I hope everybody out there has a great rest of their Friday and a good weekend. I will talk to you guys on the next show. Take care.